Great day, learners. It's me again, Miss Bethel Grace. So I hope that you had a meaningful Lenten season. By the way, happiest Easter Sunday. So this day, I'll be sharing to you different calculations relating to sample statistics. So we will be learning about parameter, about statistics, about mean, standard deviation, variance, and the likes. So let me start by sharing to you this message. Why making mistakes is important in life. It's because mistakes are unavoidable part of life and are really vital for our growth. I am sharing to you these things because in statistics, especially in calculation part, you will really encounter the scenario of making mistakes. But then again, the good thing is you are acknowledging that that is actually a mistake and you are trying to find a solution to correct that mistake. So I hope you're ready for our topic about computation of sample statistics. Okay, so please get your ball pen, your paper, of course, your calculator for our discussion this day. So let's start by defining what is population. Population is not only limited with statistics. You could actually encounter the word population in sociology, in biology, in hierarchy of life, in science in totality. We are encountering the word population. But let's try to focus on the definition of population pertaining to statistics. So we have here some keywords about population. We are actually dealing with the entire group of individuals. Remember, without these individuals, there will be no population. So the entire group that we wanted to make use in order for us to draw or create our conclusions. Hence, we could not draw or create our conclusions without the population. But later on, we also know that we could draw conclusions, we could create hypotheses by just getting a part of the population that actually represents it. And population is also finite or it could be infinite collection of objects, events, or individuals with specified class. So there is actually characterization or characteristics under considerations. So when we talk about population, it contains all the observations involved. And another definition is that it is the totality of individuals or units under study. So it includes all the members or all the individuals pertaining to a specific class or pertaining to a specific category. Okay? For example, a population of students in CMU or a population of students in the Philippines or in totality in the world. Okay, those are actually part of population. It depends on what are you trying to describe. Okay, take note that when all values of the population are known, this is actually a good thing. It is possible to describe it without vagueness since all is known about it. So it would be clearer for us to actually describe or define the whole population if all values or all individuals are known. But then the reality is investigation of the entire population, particularly if the population is so large, is difficult. It's very challenging due to material constraints such as time and money. So if you are trying to describe the whole population, it would be a good thing if all the members or all the individuals are known and it's easier to classify them, to categorize them. But if the individuals or the members of the population is very big, then it's very challenging for us to describe them or define them because we need to have a lot of resources in terms of time, in terms of money. For example, you are going to conduct a survey. So you are going to conduct a survey to Philippine setting. We are pertaining to the population of human beings. So it's 1 million something. Are you willing to invest money to describe the whole population by interviewing or conducting a whole survey to the entire population? Of course not. You just need to have a subset of the population. And later on, we will be defining also what is that subset that I am trying to refer to. Thus, it is impractical, if not impossible actually, to get hold of the total population. Kasi nga kunwari, you are going to describe the average or the mean weight of the chickens of the world. So that's part of the population. Do you think that's possible? Of course not. Kasi hindi mo alam kung yung sa bundok na yun may tao pa ba nakatira? Nag-aalaga ba sila ng chicken? Sa parting ito ng isla, meron bang tao doon na nangangalaga ng chicken? Okay? So mahirap na gamitin ang buong population para lang makakuha ng buong or accurate na observations doon sa scale ng study na ating ginagawa. Thus, we resort to drawing and studying small part of the population, and this is what we call as the sample. So sample now is the specific group that you will collect data from. And the size of the sample is always less than the total size of the population. So for example, you are trying to conduct a survey on the performance of CMU students during the pandemic season, during the remote teaching and learning experience. And then your locale of the study is, of course, CMU. Your time frame is only for 6 months. Do you think it would be possible for you to conduct a survey to the entire studentry of CMU, which is composed of, I think it's 12,000 students for 6 months? Of course not. Thus, you need to only get a subset of the population. And that is actually the sample. So what you're going to do is, of course, you do sampling. You get representative students from each college, okay, in Central Mindanao University. Create a sample out of the population that reflects, okay, the characteristic of the entire population. So now we have here different illustrations. Again, populations are hard to define and also very challenging to observe. For example, you are trying to refer to the population of the Earth. There are a lot of population of the Earth. There are a lot of countries. Speaking of age, so it could be children, adult, okay? And in terms of race and ethnicity, in terms of social status, there are a lot of classification. That's why it's very challenging to define the whole population and actually to observe the whole population. One thing that makes the population hard to define and to observe is the fact or the reality that we could actually see variations in the entire population. Talking about human population, we see variation in ages, in educational attainment, in civil status, in race, in ethnicity, in work status, in terms of age, and a lot more. So we opt to have samples. Why? Because samples are easier to contact, right? You need less time. It's less time consuming. It's less costly, though you still need, of course, to use money and resources, but at a minimal amount or at a minimal rate. And rest assured that actually the sample or subset that reflects a population. Again, samples are subset. Sorry, this is SUB. So they are subset that reflects a population. So you just need, for example, out of the entire population of the world, you just need a representative samples, probably from the different continents or from the countries in which you are targeting to be involved in your study. Okay? So you need to describe the sample, or you need to make use the sample to have a description of the population. Now, I keep on highlighting the difference of population and sample. But what is really the main difference between the two? Actually, it has to do with how observations are assigned to the data set. So this is the thing that we will be focusing. One of the many things that we will be focusing in our discussion today. So for us to easily remember the difference between the two, population versus sample, when we say population, it's a collection of all or entire items of interest to the study. If you're interested of studying human population, then all human beings. Interested in studying rabbits, then all rabbits. Interested in studying plants, specific crop species, then you are going to include all crop species across the earth or across a specific locale of the study. Meanwhile, population is just a subset of the population. And please take note, no? Population is being described by parameter. So we use capital N. While sample is being described by statistic using small n. That is why our subject is called statistics, because we are only using samples, most, okay? In statistics, in surveys, we use samples. To describe a sample, we call that the statistic. Statistic is different from statistics. Our subject is the science, okay, of defining or characterizing or analyzing data, drawing conclusion. That's statistics. Statistic describes the sample. Parameter or parameters describe the population. Another illustration is here. So again, population, entire member or entire items or entire individuals, which is actually consisting of the whole population, while sample is just part of the pie, right? It's just a subset of the population. So these are the selected ones. Okay, so I really use this infographic for you to picture out what's a population and what's a sample. Nga, di ba, sa mga mall, kung may sinasabi, uy, doon tayo kasi may freebie. May pa-sample sila. Meron bang sample na malaki? Kunwari gatas, meron bang binibigay na sample na 1 liter or 10 liters or 1 gallon? Of course, it's just ml, right? So a difference between an analogy in order for you to really grasp the concept about sample and population. So kunwari, let's have a simple activity. In town XYZ, the population is actually composed of 100,000 people, and you are targeting to have a survey of children aging 1 to 8 years old or to 10 years old. And then you are also targeting to conduct a survey of the senior citizens because your study is how many people are still willing to have the vaccine or to be vaccinated. So if you're going to interview, of course, the entire population, remember, 100,000 people, iba-iba yung age brackets nila, you will be using the parameter because the parameter describes a population. So we will be having this sign, okay, we call this mu, to define the mean of the parameter. But if we're just going to get 100 people to sample, to describe the mean of this, we are going to use the statistics. So we have X bar because we are only getting the representative of the entire population. So another simple TVT, you will be encountering a lot of things like this in your exam. If we're talking about the population, okay, advertisements for agricultural jobs in the Philippines, that's the entire population. If you are going to get a sample, then probably you can only get the top 50 search results for advertisements for agricultural jobs in the Philippines on April 30, 2021. Another population or another parameter is this. Songs from the Voice Philippines Song Contest. There are a lot of songs. Remember, the Voice started in what year? And then you are going to involve the songs being sung by the singers from that year up until the present. Ang dami. But if you're just trying to get a sample, then probably you just focus on the winning songs from the Voice Philippines Song Contest that were performed in Tagalog. So, erase na yung mga English. Then another part of the parameter or population is this. Parameter used to describe the population again. Undergraduate students in the Philippines. Ang dami kaya, ang daming universities. Hello, may SUCs, may private, may community colleges. Talagang mawiwirla ka kung gagawa ka ng survey sa entire student fee ng Pilipinas. Hello, ang dami-daming isla, okay? Ang dami-daming regions, ang dami-daming schools. So why not focus on the 300 undergraduate students from 3 Philippine universities who volunteer for an agriculture research study. So with this, so you actually narrow down, okay, the units that will be used in the study, thus narrowing also the resources that will be invested. And then population, all countries of the world, bushness. So why not focus on the countries with published data available on birth rates and GDP since 2000 or year 2000. So please expect that probably I'll be giving the population and I will be requiring you to create a sample from a specific population or to draw. Or I'll be giving a sample and then you are going to predict what does the sample reflects. So I'm asking about the population. So for us to easily, because we will be encountering a lot of the signs later on, for us to easily describe statistic and parameter, so let's try to dissect this, break these chunks into pieces. Okay, if we're going to talk about the mean, sample, so statistic, we will be seeing the sign X bar. But pag ito namang parameter, pag ito yung nakikita natin, mu ito. So this is the mean of the population. So this is the parameter P. For standard deviation naman, the statistic standard deviation of the sample, of course, is designated by S. While the parameter, okay, standard deviation is designated by sigma. And the statistic variance or the sample variance is S squared, while the parameter variance is sigma squared. The statistic proportion, although we will not be talking much more about proportion, but I just wanted you to know, we have the P hat for statistic or sample, while P lang for the parameter. Then the size, of course, pagka small n, statistic or sample size. Population size naman for parameter, pagka capital N. So, itong mga letters na ito, itong mga designations na ito are very important because in most problem sets, hindi na po i-mention na this is the parameter. Ito na lang po yung makikita natin. So, pag hindi natin alam na ay population pala yung nare-refer dito kasi may new. So, iba yung solution na ating magagamit kasi iba yung equation na ating magagamit. So, maaari tayong magkamali. Ayun, mistakes na naman. although they are unavoidable, we will learn a lesson. But of course, we need not to commit repetitive mistakes. We need not to do the same mistakes all over again. Though sometimes we are guilty. Okay? So, para mas madali nating matandaan, parameter describes everyone in the group, the entire population. Statistic describes only some of the individuals in the group. Another example, given these different statements, I wanted you to identify whether it is statistic or parameter. The average of all males in the Philippines, is it statistic or parameter? The average height of all cats in the island of Mindanao, parameter or statistic? The average test of 25 students in an Agri 44A class consists of 500 students. So very clear, no? And then the fourth one is the average test score of all students in a class. So I wanted you to think, 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 think. Okay, here's the answer. The ones highlighted in violet are all parameter. They refer to the entire population, while the ones highlighted or having the font colors that pink are actually statistic. So, the average of all males in the Philippines, klarong-klaro po lahat po ng males. Ang dami kaya ng males. So, population. So, parameter. The average height of all cats in the island of Mindanao. Mas naging specific siya. Okay, so statistic. The average test of 25 out of 500, 25 lang yung kinuha na average test. Of course, this is statistic. And the average test score of all students in a class, ang dami. Di pa dinefine kung ano yung class na to. Baka lahat ng class, okay? So, parameter. Ang dali lang, diba? Sana ganito mo lang yung exam mo, mga 100 points. Of course not. This is just easy, okay? Okay. 1. A market researcher surveys 85 people on their coffee drinking habits. Oh, I love coffee. She wants to know whether people in the local region are willing to switch the regular drink to something new. For me, hindi. So, what is the sample? A, people in the local region. B, the 85 people. C, society at large. Or D, the market researcher. So, ano nga ba dito yung sample? So, let's find the answer. So, what's your answer? A, B, C, or D? Well done. The sample is the 85 people surveyed, while the population is all the people in the local region. So, di ba, ganun lang siya ka-easy? Let's try another simple activity. The market researcher analyzes the data and finds that the 61% of survey respondents are willing to switch the regular drink to something new. What is the 61% referred to as? A, parameter, B, statistic, C, sampling error, or D, standard error. So what's your answer? Great job. The 61% is referred to as the statistic because it is a measure taken from the sample. Again po, always po nakapares ng sample ang statistic. In contrast, a parameter is a measure concerning a population. So, kung mahilig po kayo sa mnemonics, pakatandaan po natin na S, sample statistic. Hindi statistics ha, statistic. PP, parameter, population. So, they always go together. Okay? Third one, a high school student newspaper plans to survey a local business about the importance of students as customers. From an alphabetical list of all local businesses, the newspaper staff chooses 150 businesses at random. Of this, 73 return the questionnaire mailed by the staff. Now, we need to identify the population of the sample. First is, you would notice that the survey actually is intended for all local businesses. Therefore, local businesses is our population. While the sample, medyo nalilito tayo kung Alin ba dito, 150 or 73? Of course, yung initial na plano is 150. Kaso nga lang, sa 150, ang nag-respond ay only 73. So ngayon, ang part ng sample ay 73. Kaya yung 73 businesses that returned the questionnaire is our sample. Easy, right? Fourth one. A large agricultural products retailer prepares its customers' monthly credit and credit card bills using an automatic machine that folds the bills, stuffs them into envelopes, and seals the envelopes for mailing. Are the envelopes completely enveloped? Inspectors choose 40 envelopes at random from the 1,000 staff. Each are for visual inspection. We need to identify the population and sample. Ma'am, ang haba po. Oo nga, mahaba po siya. Pero easy lang naman yung tinutukoy. Gusto lang natin malaman kung saan nga ba dito yung population at kung ano naman yung sample. Alam natin na yung part ng population is from the 1,000 stuffed envelope during a given hour. So, yun yung ating population. Yung sample naman ay randomly selected na envelope. Yun yung ating 40 envelopes. Okay? Fifth one. Ma'am, mas mahaba po. Di bale. Kaya natin to. An archaeological dig turns up large numbers of battery shards, broken stone, tools, and other artifacts. Students working in the project classify each artifact and assign it a number. The counts and different categories are important for understanding the please erase the. So the project director chooses 2% of the facts at random and checks the students' work. Identify the population and the sample. So the population, of course, medyo vague talaga siya, no? Vague or it's not clear. Large numbers of battery shards, broken stones, and other artifacts. Sample is, of course, it's very evident. 2% of the facts at random and checks the student's work. Yun yung ating sample. Ngayon po ay magaling na kayo, kaya good work. Nice work. Now you've got a good understanding of populations and samples. We can actually proceed to a more serious topic. But before that again, highlighting, palagi na lang tayo nag-highlight, population at sample. Population are hard to define, hard to observe. At times, population is unknowable or mahirap hagilapin, mahirap i-describe, mahirap i-define. Thus, it is expensive. It is time-consuming. It is consuming a lot of resources. Your efforts, your money, of course, and other resources. For the sample, it's difficult at first kasi nga sample. So, we need to use a sampling technique. Random ba? Non-random? What's the probability of being part of the sample? That's why it's difficult. But then again, it becomes easy after some experience. You can learn to do it, then it becomes easy. Right? Diba? Practice. Good practice. Okay? And statistical works actually, or rather, statistical test actually works in sample, even if the data is incomplete. Okay? We could incomplete kasi nga, it's just part or subset of the population. Another thing, what if the population is not known? So, pwede ba tayong mag-estimate? Okay? Pwede ba? Of course, pwede. Kasi nga, di ba, kung walang population, pwedeng sample. Kung walang parameter, pwedeng statistic. So, an estimate for that parameter will be calculated. So, estimation refers to the process by which one makes inferences about a population. It's based on information obtained from a sample or define a sample from a statistic. So, an estimate of a population parameter may be expressed in two ways. So we could actually take a hook about point estimate or interval estimate. So ano na naman itong dalawang estimates na to? So going back again, if the population is unknown, we could have estimates. Point or interval. Point, di ba kung point isa lang, so merong isang specific value. Di ba kung interval para siyang range, so dapat merong dalawang values. Yung lower limit at saka yung upper limit. Or may range tayo. Kaya nga tinatawag natin siya na interval or interval. So point estimate is a single value estimate of a parameter. For example, the sample mean x, this is actually x bar, is a point estimate of the population mean mu. So kung population mean mu yung tinutukoy, ang point estimate niya ay ang sample mean na x bar. Yun yun. Similarly, the sample proportion p hot or the small p is a point estimate of the population proportion p denoted by capital P. Meanwhile, interval estimate gives you a range of values where the parameter is expected to lie. So meron po tayong two values, lower limit at upper limit. Kunwari, yung ating lower limit ay 5, yung upper limit natin ay 10. So ine-expect po natin na in between 5 and 10, nandoon po ang totoong value ng ating parameter. Or nandoon po ang totoong value ng ating population. Okay? Kasi nga 'di ba, napakahirap i-define ng population. Kaya kumuha tayo ng sample. Ngayon, kukuha tayo ng sample, pwede namang point estimate yung gamitin natin para mag-describe kasi nga unknown yung ating population. Pwede ding interval. Kung point, specific value, isa lang. Kung interval, ang ating gagamitin ay dalawang values. Inaasahan natin na in between doon sa dalawang values na yun, yung tinutukoy ko, 5 at 10, so pwedeng nasa 5.1, 5.12, 5.13, up to 10, or 9.99, or 8.5, or 7.5, or 6.5. So in between those values, ating ina-assume na andun naglalay ang toong value ng ating parameter. So now, the probability part of a confidence interval is called a confidence level. Later po, atin din pong tutukuyin kung ano nga ba yung kaibahan or difference ng confidence interval at confidence level. Okay? So let's have a simple activity. So we have here a sample of 49 students which showed a mean of 24 hours with standard deviation of 4 hours at a confidence level of 95%. The question is, what is the point estimate and the interval estimate? Ngayon po, kailangan nating malaman ang average hour that students spend in studying. So kunwari, ito yung bahay. Sa buong bahay na ito yung sample, dito yung student. So, para po ma-estimate natin, kasi nga hindi natin tukoy ang totoong number ng population, kailangan po nating mag-estimate. Pwede pong point estimate, pwede din pong interval estimate. So, pag point estimate po, ina-expect natin or inaasahan natin na isang value lang ang sagot. Okay? Yung value na yon, yun yung magre-represent ng ating population. Meanwhile, pag interval estimate naman, we will end up with a range of number. Again po, kasi range merong lower limit at upper limit. Which the value you want to estimate probably lies. Uulitin ko na naman po. In between the lower and the upper limit, andun po, ina-assume natin or tinutukoy natin na nandoon sa pagitan ng dalawang numbers na yon ang totoong value ng ating gustong makuha. Okay? Na gusto nating ma-estimate. So first thing to do is, of course, to write the given. So we have here the sample size, which is 49%. The mean, which is 24 hours. Ito po, a mean of 24 hours. Yung S po natin or standard deviation po natin, kasi nga po ito po ay sample, kaya S for hours. Yung ating confidence level ay 95%. Of course, yung ating alpha is 5%. Kasi nga, di ba, 100% minus 95% is 5%. And po yung ating alpha. So to compute for the point estimate, we simply need to get the mean. It's just the mean. So since this is statistic, so this is a sample, so to get the mean, we need to divide the summation over the sample size. Alam naman natin na given na po ang mean. Kaya automatic 24 hours. Ngayon, mag-focus naman po tayo sa ating interval estimate. So, para makuha po ang ating interval estimate, alam po natin, so kailangan po natin i-manipulate yung ating equation to come up with this equation. So, mu, kasi po, alam na po natin ang sample mean. So, kailangan nating kunin ang ating population mean or mu is equal to sample mean or x bar plus minus z alpha over 2 times standard deviation over square root of the sample size. Again po, this is the mean plus minus. Bakit nga ba plus at minus? Para po makuha natin ng lower limit at upper limit. Lower limit ay minus. Para makuha ang upper limit ay plus. Z po, alpha over 2. This is the confidence coefficient. And then our standard deviation and our sample size. Again po, ang atin pong alpha ay 5%. Or when converted into decimal place, it's 0.05. So let's use the equation. So we know that our mean is 24 plus minus z. Alpha is 0.05 divided by 2 over 4, which is our standard deviation, not over rather, times 4 over square root of 49. 49 is our sample size. So 24 plus minus 1.96. So we are actually getting this value from the Z table. Later on, we would also know how to actually get and understand the Z table. Times 4 over 7, kasi nga square root of 49 is just 7. So 4 over 7 is equal to 0.57. So 24 plus minus 1.96 times 0.57, the answer is 24 plus minus 1.1172. Now, our interval estimate is, it is expected that the exact value, which is unknown, okay, the mu or the parameter mean is in between 22.8828. This is the result when we are going to subtract 1.1172 from 24. It's equivalent to 22.8828. And when we're going to add 1.1172 to 24, we will be having 25.1172. Again po, mahirap i-define yung totoo or accurate value ng ating parameter. Kaya meron lang po tayong interval estimate. Sa interval estimate po natin, alam natin nga, okay, yung value ng ating mean ay nasa pagitan ng it's greater than 22.8828 but less than 25.1172. Therefore, the average are lended by students in studying lies between 22.8828 and 25.1172 hours. Okay, please do not forget the hours because that's the unit. So, ganun lang po ka-easy ang pagkuha ng estimates. Kung hindi po tukoy ang population, meron po tayong option. We could estimate the population by doing point estimation, or interval estimation. So please watch our next learning video, also talking about computation of sample statistics. I hope you learned something. Thank you and God bless us all.